He also is working on things you might be less familiar with, like Neuralink. They're developing this futuristic brain implant, and The Boring Company, which was a SpaceX spinoff that is digging tunnels here on Earth. But like most super genius types, he might best be known for his quirkiness. Last week, he went on a bit of a Twitter rant about giving people freedom, declaring that he was selling all of his possessions and houses. He was on Joe Rogan's show yesterday and went into some of that, and we'll talk about that. But the one thing that they did not talk about, and maybe most interesting to the investing world, was the tweet that kicked off this rant. Elon tweeted, "Tesla's stock is too high." Today on Dumb Money Live, we take a closer look at Elon Musk.
This is Dumb Money Live with Chris Camillo, Dave Hansen, and Jordan McLean, streaming live on YouTube. We are Dumb Money.
Hey there, Dave here along with Chris and Jordan. Welcome to the show. So within 30 minutes of tweeting that Tesla's stock price is too high, the stock fell nearly 12%. That's $14 billion of market cap. So why would the CEO of Tesla tweet that? It was just a couple of days after their earnings report where he had a bit of a meltdown on their call with analysts, but that didn't faze investors. The stock was up big after earnings, and it's really not the first time he's tweeted about the stock. He was sued by the SEC for securities fraud after a tweet about having funding in place to take Tesla private. Part of that settlement, it was exactly a year ago, it was the requirement that Tesla lawyers approve any future tweets he makes about Tesla that contain material information. I'm sure his lawyers did not review any of last week's tweets. The SEC has not yet weighed in on whether they think tweeting that the price is too high is material information or not. But I have a theory about why he tweeted that, and I don't think it was just out of frustration, as one of the analysts has theorized. And a couple of days ago on our last live show, actually, Chris, you said you have a theory, and we haven't compared notes on this or anything. I can't wait to see if we're thinking the same thing. I did extensive Googling last night. I could not find a single news article or blog post or tweet or YouTube video with the same theory that I have, but I know how you think, and I'm about 90% sure you're thinking the same thing as me.
Okay, here's what I think. And I haven't researched any of it. I don't know what other people's theories are on this. I did not look into this. I think that he's trying to, in a weird way, get in front of any claims that he is manipulating the stock upward for the benefit of his bonus, which is that option to purchase shares at, I think, roughly $340 or $370 a share. Had to meet like 10 or 15 stipulations. Most of them were met. At this point, he just needed the stock price to maintain above a certain level, above for a certain period of time. It looks like a lot of what's been going on, and there's a lot of really interesting claims. I've researched a bunch of them. They seem to be correct. That leads to some really fishy things that have gone on in this last earnings report to kind of prop up numbers to keep that stock price high. And I think he's like, hey, how can you say that I wanted the stock price to be high if I came out and said the stock is too high?
Coming out and verbatim saying it is too high, it should come down. So for my theory, we need to talk more about this compensation plan because it is very complicated. It's very lucrative to him. According to SEC filings that Tesla made, it could be worth more than $55 billion if all of the thresholds, all 12 of these thresholds are met. He hasn't received any of that yet, but there are 12 tranches, milestones, where he gets paid when Tesla reaches these milestones. And the first one was just hit. That could mean, and it's $700 million we're talking about for this very first one. And every time he hits one of these, for the next 12 they hit, he gets 1% of Tesla's stock. So it's basically based on three elements. Two of these are operating milestones, and for the first payday for Elon, the company needs revenue that is $20 billion, adjusted EBITDA of at least $1.5 billion. Their earnings report showed that as of March 31st, they reached that. The other element is based on the company's market cap. So that's, share price times the number of shares that exist in the world. So that first market cap milestone was $100 billion. The company needs to have an average market cap of $100 billion for 6 months in order to trigger that payment. And that trigger was hit last week, according to Reuters and some other news organizations that did the calculations. So 1/12 of his total compensation plan, 1% of Tesla's stock, might just have opened up.
Dave, do you know if it was hit before or after he made the statement? That's something I was looking at.
Well, here's what I found. The options give him the right to buy Tesla stock at a preset price of $350 a share. That price was the set strike price back in January 2018 when this plan went into effect. According to the plan, these are non-qualified stock options. The vesting language in this pay plan states specifically each of the 12 tranches vests only when both a market capitalization milestone and an operational milestone are certified by the board as having been met. So basically the board decides the date that the vesting occurs, certifying the milestones were met, right? And we know how taxes work on non-qualified stock options. If you don't, you basically pay ordinary income tax, the highest possible tax rate on the difference between that strike price and the market price. So if the stock was at $850 a share, as it was on April 30th, he'd pay taxes on the difference between $850 and $350. So basically he'd paying ordinary income taxes on $500 a share. But after the tweet, after that stock tanked, it went down to $701. That was the closing price of the day. The difference between $701 and $350 is only $391. So instead of paying taxes on $500 a share, he might only pay taxes on $391 a share, which is a huge difference. At the 37% tax rate, the 1.68 million shares, the lower $391 share has a built-in taxable gain of $660 million. So he'd owe $244 million in taxes, compared to the higher $500 taxable gain built in, where he would owe $313 million in taxes. And the board decides when to certify, and the milestones were met. And who do you think is on the board? Elon. So the rest of the board could have already signed off on that. And then Elon tweets, hey, this is too high. Then he certifies that the option, that everything was met. And so instead of $850, he signs off when it was at $750. And by my calculations, that tweet might have saved Elon Musk as much as $69 million in taxes.
Dave, that is pretty awesome. I mean, I was not going.
Isn't that genius?
It is. You're like Elon Musk too.
I know that he's smart enough. I know that he knows how non-qualified stock options work. I read his entire pay plan. It is a very complicated. It's an interesting pay plan. It's genius the way they set it up. They basically, in order for him to reach the full payout, the company has to be worth $650 billion, which is never been seen before, right? They're at $100 billion now.
So that's fascinating. I actually do, having studied Elon the last few years, I do think his mind works in that way. I do also think that he would believe that people are not going to see what you saw and not even going to pay attention to it. And quite honestly, when it comes to accounting scandals at Tesla, there's so many that he would think, kind of like the way Trump thinks, just keep spinning out new stuff and it will just keep tricking them and they'll be on to the next thing, right? So
it's not really even an accounting scandal. It's basically market manipulation.
Yes.
Short term. And look, the stock's already back at $820 a share. It was not like a long-term hit. It went down to $700. Just needed to do that for the day. It closed on that day. He could have certified that day.
There's enough gray area there that, I would think that would be market manipulation and fraud. But there's so many other things to be pissed about if you're the SEC when it comes to Tesla that you're probably that's way down the list, right?
And it may not have specifically violated the agreement that he entered into a year ago with the SEC about material information. He didn't disclose information about the company. He disclosed an opinion that the stock price was too high. It was too high because he's going to have to pay $70 million more in taxes because it's so high.
Hey, Jordan, I want to get your take on this, but before you do, I just want to say if he's doing any of this for additional cash, additional money, and I want to talk about this on the show today, I don't think Elon is the type of guy that's doing it because he wants to buy a new house, obviously. It's not about that. It's about
he's very much not about material things, and
it's about to him, in his sick mind, it's about the greater good. Now, you can agree or not agree with him, but I think everything that Elon does, if you really read into what he's all about, in his mind, it's for the greater good, right? In his mind, he's doing it because everyone else is an idiot. And he has to manipulate these things, make sure that his company is secure, make sure that he has the power, that he has the financial resources to do this and that and that and that to save the world and to save humanity, and because no one else is going to do it. So he thinks that there's a good reason to do everything to kind of break, to kind of cut the corners, to break the rules, right? He thinks there's a noble reason behind everything that he does, and that's why there are no ends to the laws that I think Elon will be willing to push right to the brink. But Jordan, I want to see what you think, because Tesla was your forever stock when we did our forever stock episode on the primary channel, just our Dumb Money channel. This is Dumb Money Live, but we have another channel where we talk about startups. But we did our forever stock, and this was your forever stock, and you stock when this series of tweets came out. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, either way, if it had fraudulent intent or if it was just subconscious and he kind of knew what would happen if it dropped, but he was just like, maybe tweeted in frustration, it doesn't really matter. I just don't think it's appropriate for a CEO to be tweeting things like that about their stock price, right? And so I just think from that standpoint, I just don't want to be around. I mean, let's say that the SEC launches an investigation based on that tweet. When that news hits, the stock price could drop, 20%. Who knows? And just that volatility, I don't need in my life right now. And so I bounced.
Oh, you sold your stock?
Oh yeah, I'm out. I can't deal with somebody like that. Look, there are things that I love about Tesla. I love that they're driving technology for, they're doing a lot of stuff with like battery tech. They're, they've really made it possible to have, an environmentally sustainable car. And I love some of these things, but it just freaks me out when somebody runs a company like that. Just kind of, pardon my French, wild ass. So, that turns me off. And so
I don't know what happened to Chris. He just disappeared. But
I heard some yelling in the background. So I bet.
No, he's on his other camera. It looks like he's setting up his other laptop. I don't know what he's doing.
He's going Blair Witch on us.
Well, we will get back to him as soon as possible. But did you watch the Joe Rogan interview with Elon last night? I
actually did not. No.
You didn't?
No.
I was fascinated. I'm like, I like Tesla. I think Elon is. I'm on the side of he's a genius. He's not an evil genius. I think he does mean well. It's just if you think about even the namesake of the Tesla company, Nikolai Tesla was also kind of this mad scientist genius that was misunderstood, and he could have. You probably know more than I do about the technology that the OG Tesla had created. The competitor to Edison's Tesla, not Tesla coils, but direct current versus alternating current, right?
Right.
And had that become the standard, the way isn't that a more efficient technology?
The weird thing about it is that as far as who won out in the end, I mean, I think Nikola Tesla's ideas and his genius won out in the end, but not financially for him, right? And so that's kind of that's the weird thing about calling it Tesla, is that they're winning out financially and they're doing a lot of really nice, really really neat technology too. So, but yeah, Nikola Tesla.
I watch every movie, every documentary I can find. You guys are in the wrong spot. I'm just going to switch you now, and then I can put your things back in. And Chris, we can't hear you again, so you might want to plug your microphone in. We can't hear you. He can't hear us either. I can't hear you. Nope. Live internet. Welcome to our show. And for that, let someone else know that we're here. We're trying our best. We're giving you all this great information. But anyway, in his thing, they did address yesterday on the Joe Rogan show, he talked about selling his possessions. He talked about how he basically could build his dream house, but didn't really think that was the best use of his time or resources. He'd rather spend his time getting to Mars. I thought that was kind of, and I think that's the way he thinks. He thinks in terms of like how his brain cycles work. He says he allocates 90% of his brain cycles to Tesla, 5% to this new AI brain implant thing that he's working on, and that's about it.
Sure, and I and I agree with that. I think that Tesla will ultimately be successful because of that, and so it kills me to bounce on the stock. I just, I think there's too much risk associated with the way that he, behaves to sit there and take it, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But for me, I like him. I like his products. I actually think my next car, I've decided that I'm not getting that Ford Bronco, even though Tesla bought me one already with my stock gains. I'm going to get the Tesla Model X. And I'm working on Tesla paying for that for me. It looks like.
Let me tell you the other thing that killed me about
have.
Tesla. That truck is ridiculous.
Oh, the Cybertruck?
Yeah, I know. Leon loves it. I think Chris loves it too. But I'm all Rivian on the electric truck.
I don't know what happened to Chris. He might need to reboot his entire system. Oh wait, he's okay. You're on your old laptop. You want to be on that?
All right, hold on.
Chris Camillo viewing only. Okay, this is. Wheels are off on this episode already. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Do you want to be on that camera?
I don't think I have a choice right now. And I don't know what happened. Could you see me and not hear me, or?
I could see you and then not hear you, and then you froze, and then you went to a black screen. So right now, like if we pull up that camera, you are just a black screen.
That's super weird. Okay.
But you're now back at like 12 frames per second and blurry when you move, so you're clearly on your old laptop again.
Yes. This is, when you said that this new setup would be great because I would have a backup, I didn't think I would have to use it on day 2.
Now, I see you in the preview, but I can't pull you up. So I think you just need to restart your iPad.
Okay. So I have so much to say. I was going to be so annoyed if
we had to boot you from this episode. Let's see if the commenters have anything to say about that.
I think
Chris's camera circa 1975.
Yeah, Chris's frame rate fell like Tesla stock.
That's a good one. That's evil genius right there.
That's good.
Is Elon watching? I wonder if that is Elon. Commenters are also saying you look hungover. Did you have a Zoom happy hour or something last night?
No, I've had a total of 3 alcoholic drinks since the quarantine started for me on like March 1st. So no, guys, this is Elon Musk is the biggest mystery. I can just spend all day, every day doing nothing but studying this guy and trying to figure out what's going to happen next with Tesla. I think that he is the biggest nutbag. First of all, can we talk about one tweet? That tweet I sent you earlier.
Which one?
I gotta hold on my door. Hold on a sec.
Not again.
I guess he's not used to doing shows on Fridays. I don't know. So he did send a couple of tweets. So I'm gonna pull up both of them.
Are you gonna pull up the zero hedge tweet?
Okay, sorry, I'm back. You hear?
Is it the zero hedge tweet you want me to pull up?
No, that tweet. The tweet. Elon's tweet about COVID.
Oh, yeah.
About the virus.
You can say that. Hey, YouTube allows us to talk about that now. By the way.
Oh, they do. They do allow us to use that name. Okay.
We're allowed to say COVID. We're allowed to say any of these terms as long as we're not giving misinformation, and they have artificial intelligence trying to figure out whether or not they ban us from YouTube for talking about COVID. But in passing references, YouTube says it's absolutely fine, and they won't turn people away.
I think this is really important because I think everyone tends to be on one side of the Elon Musk kind of, he's a nutbag, he's crazy, you can't trust him, he's a lunatic, and then or he's a genius or evil genius, he's the smartest man in the world. Thank God we have him for humanity. And I think it's not mutually exclusive. I think he could be both. And this tweet really resonated with me back on March 19th. He said, based on current trends, probably close to 0 new cases in the U.S. to by end of April. Okay, so for him to say that on March 13 about us having 0 cases on April 1st, you can't debate this. He has the worst judgment skills ever. I mean, I don't care what side of this whole virus that you're on, to make that statement on March 13th was so out of it and so completely wrong by any measure. I don't know how you could have that type of terrible insight into what was happening in America and just general science, right? He's supposed to be one of the smartest people ever and had a Tesla, SpaceX. This is science, right? You could think that it's blown out of proportion. You could think that we should close down America or we shouldn't close down America. You could think a lot of things, but on March 13th, to say that we would have 0 new cases by April 1 is just scientifically so ignorant and so wrong. How dumb or misinformed or drugged up does a person need to be to actually think that and say that? And so that was a game-changing moment for me. And he said some crazy things in the past, but that was like a factually I want to talk about that statement. If he says that, right, you have to kind of question everything you know and think about Elon. And maybe he was high when he said it, right? Maybe he was not.
Maybe he was as high as the stock price.
You know,
I don't think you can hear us.
I hear you now. I got you now. I got you.
You know, we are like real TV people now. We have these things in our ears, and it's yeah. Chris is just really not good at technology.
But guys, I gotta get through that tweet, right? Because like I sold, like Jordan. That's another one. That's a great. That's the great. We can't hear it though. Can you hear it?
I'll play it for you with sound in a second. I have to switch it to a different thing.
It's so great. This other tweet is like the ultimate. This is Elon this month. This is who he is this month, right? But you can't really take anything that he says seriously, or you have to lose a lot of faith in his judgment skills, right? As a CEO, as a leader, and at the same time, because Jordan, this is why you sold, right? Me and you sold at the same time. I kept a quarter of my Tesla at the time, but you sold all of it. But both me and you basically did the same thing. We saw that and we're like, we had to sell. But does it really matter? Does it matter if Elon is a completely moronic lunatic at the end of the day? If he's evil genius in some ways, and yet in some other ways completely lost his mind and doesn't understand reality? Is that a bad thing even? I want to discuss that.
Yeah, look, when I think about it, I think about, you kind of need to understand what's happening in the economy and in people's general psyche to be able to effectively operate a business, right?
But do you? That's a question. Do you? You though? Yeah. That's why I want to raise that question. Right.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think that it would be helpful, right?
I would think so too. But we have to. I think today's show is question.
We've seen that he's not just an evil genius when it comes to technology and engineering and all of these things. He's also just rethinking philanthropy and he's trying to do good in this world. I think that his whole stance on he'd rather get to Mars than build his dream house, he could definitely have the dome that opens with a helicopter that shoots out of the top, but he's selling all of his stuff. He basically feels like that is a distraction, and that gives people too much ammunition to say, no, you have stuff, so you're not doing good. He's doing his best.
Yeah, Dave, listen, I kind of agree with you, and that's why I'm in this middle place where I can see how terrible his judgment is and that he might not actually be smart in a lot of ways. And at the same time, listen, I've always said intelligence is not linear, right?
Yes.
You can't say that, he's either smart, so he's smart in all these ways, or he's dumb in all these ways. I'm a big believer in that. And perhaps Elon is just so different, right? So different in the way that his mind works, that he can achieve such extraordinary things while at the same time being so terribly wrong and so terribly misconceived about so many other things. And that might actually potentially work for a company like SpaceX and like Tesla, right? And because at the end of the day, what does it really matter if he has the capacity to generate fanfare and to generate tens of billions of dollars in funding and take risk that no sane CEO or company would be willing to take, right? If he's willing to do that, that has potential to turn into things that are so magically amazing, right? That even with him being a complete nutbag and not even understanding basic science of a virus, that in 2 weeks, a virus that is spreading rapidly is not going to magically disappear. I mean, like, maybe it doesn't matter, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, no, to me, it's not that he, maybe even thought that. It's that he isn't exposing himself to enough ideas to be able to even see the counter argument to that, right? And so is he like caught up in some, conspiracy theory, weird, portal of the internet that he doesn't, look at other people's opinions and try to correlate his own with, arguably the biggest thing that's going on in society right now? I mean, that seems weird.
It does.
I think he has a lot of thoughts on it.
Right.
He just has, and yesterday in his Joe Rogan interview, he was explaining how he feels like he's seen this already, and he saw it go down in China, and he has 6,000 employees in China, and none of them died, and he feels like he's seeing a replay of it in English, I think is what he said, and he just feels like this isn't a big deal because he knows better, and that's just an arrogant kind of way of thinking about it. But he's kind of like in every other part of his life, he doesn't have people questioning his thought process, and so he's probably just used to it. And this is here's the one tweet response that we saw. This is how, in response to Elon saying, "I'm selling almost all of my physical possessions," that he's going to own no house, that he's the stipulation on the sale of the house that he owns, Gene Wilder's house, it cannot be torn down. So the response was weird because this is how I picture the scene at that house right now, or with Elon right now.
Lies! Lies! Do you hear me? Hear my creation! Lies!
No wonder why he loves Gene Wilder and bought his house. I mean, he relates like in the same way that I would imagine a serial killer would see himself in the vein of other serial killers. Elon, I think, sees the madness in his own brain, right? You're
gonna have to switch your microphone over. I can't hear you on the other camera.
Okay, I'm back.
Should we have you in two views?
I think we should do double Chris just in case.
I'm good. We get rid of the bad one. Get rid of the bad one. There's an evil genius.
Okay, we're back. And which one's the bad one? It's this one. Okay. Boom. Now we've got ourselves a YouTube channel. Of course, we can't hear you again. I can only hear you on the bad one. So you have to switch your microphone or turn your microphone on the good one. I can't hear you on the.
It's probably on. Now it's on. Now it's on. I bet, right?
Okay, it's on.
Yeah, it's on now.
We've got you now.
Okay, so, listen, I really wanted to come into this episode. The one thing that I hate about cable news and talking heads and pundits and all these people is they have a mindset when they go into something and you can't change it, right?
Yeah.
So like when people start a YouTube show, same thing. I think they have a mindset, they come into the show and that's the way they feel, and they're going to try to convince all their followers that this is the way to think.
And if you're just tuning in now, I have a very strong opinion on what I think went down in the tweet. So make sure you watch this from the beginning.
I want to come into the show, and I really am. I have no clue. I'm trying to figure out for myself, and I've spent probably 100 hours studying Elon, right, over the last couple of years. I want to figure out for myself, who is this guy? Is Tesla a good investment? What are the tail risks involved? I mean, is he a mad genius, or is he a complete lunatic fraudster, or is he a combination of the two with good intent, right? With good intent. And I kind of feel that that's where I'm headed right now.
Yeah, I think he's eccentric, but he means well, and he's doing great things for society, but just has enough quirks that are kind of distracting from that.
We might not ever know. That's the thing, right? I mean, he could be a total psychopath and, just somebody that doesn't meet him and doesn't actually interact with him on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. You'll never know.
But you know what? The world, think about how much color the world would lose if Elon disappeared tomorrow. I mean, aren't you glad in a day when we don't have Steve Jobs anymore?
No, absolutely.
Aren't you glad we have Elon here? Like,
I'm totally glad that he came out and he created, a fantastic product, right? I think the Tesla, especially the, not the roads, what's the nice sedan.
The Model S?
Yeah, the Model S.
The one that Lynn has?
Fantastic
car. The one that Lynn has?
Yeah, that's the one he has.
Yeah.
See, you know what's so funny? I know people love Tesla, and I completely appreciate the technology revolution that is in every Tesla. It's kind of mind-blowing. It's actually insane. But for me, I don't like, when I go in Lynn's Tesla, and I drove it, he let me drive it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I've driven it too. I drove it from your bar to his house.
Yeah, well, okay, is it technically fast? Yes, but to me, it feels like an Acura NSX where it's so it's so stable, it doesn't feel fun when you're accelerating. It's like it's too stable. And also, I don't like having like a 30-inch screen in my face when I'm in the car. I think it's odd and weird, but that's just me.
I like it. I like the whole interior. Yeah, you can barely get a camera to work, so I love having a giant iPad as the center console, and my next car is going to be the X, and Elon is going to buy it for me. So how much, Jordan did not watch it. How much did you watch of the Joe Rogan special yesterday?
I didn't watch the actual 2-hour show, but I did watch a few different shows about the show. Hot recaps, and then I read a ton, like all the coverage of it, and a lot of the tweets going back and forth. I spent well over 2 hours reading about it. I should have just watched the show. Quite honestly.
This is good. We have two perspectives, because I actually watched it and I took some notes, and I did not watch a single recap, so I don't know what the consensus estimate on Elon's craziness is. But I feel like he was. So I watched the first one too. That was about a year ago, and he came across as way less crazy to me. I think he had some good things to say about selling his possessions. He's sad about it. He says possessions weigh you down. They're an attack factor. People are like, "Hey, billionaire, you've got it all. Well, now I don't have stuff. So what are you going to do?" I feel like he's just trying to remove distractions.
Do you know why that's so important? Is because, and this is what I love, and this is why part of the reason why I got back into the stock more heavy this morning. Okay, I doubled my Tesla position this morning. Actually, more than doubled it. I'm back up to 500 shares. So I have a meaningful amount of shares in Tesla now. I did it because that move to sell his houses, when I understood why he did it, I said, you know what? This is actually for the benefit of Tesla, because doing that is going to enable him to get people off his back. It's going to enable him to actually do better in terms of raising funds for Tesla, because people are going to be less prone to attack him for the potential fraud he's doing all the time with maybe manipulating stock and all this stuff, right? If that is a manipulation, if it is fraud, because at the end of the day, if he's like, I'm not really benefiting from it personally, because all I'm really doing is taking that money and pushing it back into building great things for humanity. I think that's a really smart thing versus like Jeff Bezos bought like the biggest house in the world or in the West Coast, right? And he's wearing like silver, and I love Amazon. Amazon's my forever stock, but he's wearing like glitter shirts and stuff. You know, like it's just the whole. Now Elon might do that too, actually, but I feel like at the end of the day, whatever Elon does, as crazy as it is, if you think it's fraudulent or if you think it's manipulation, if you think it's outright lying, and I think it's a lot of those things, he's doing it for the benefit of that company and for innovation and to be able to push forward and forge forward. Now, it's a dangerous game. It's a dangerous game. And when I bought back into Tesla this morning, I didn't buy 1,000 shares, which I was considering doing, which I used to own. I only bought 500 total. And the reason why is there is significant tail risk in any Tesla investment right now. And you have to understand that as a Tesla investor, at any moment in time, something could happen with an investigation, with some of the lies that might or might not being told right now about what's happening at the company might get surfaced that could take down the company theoretically, right? He's pushing to the brink. He's levering the company. Basically, he's levering the truth. Does that make sense? He's levering reality, levering truth. And if things go sour, like a global pandemic that doesn't end as quickly as we need it to, if things go sour, what happens is a lot of those things that he's pushing to the edge will surface and could implode the entire company, right? And I think that's what we saw out of Elon this month. He started to get so stressed out about the fact that his factories might not be able to open in the next few weeks. And he knows better than anyone that if that happens, the way he's structured this company is so on the edge that it won't survive with factories closed for 6 more months, 7 more months.
Look, you've basically got a just-in-time car company, right? And so they're counting on being able to sell these things as soon as they produce them and get them into customers' hands. And right now, they can't produce, and they haven't been able to for like a month or more. So I mean, it's a big problem for their
and they have a lot of pre-orders, and they can sell these cars if they can make them, and so that is huge. So I did like a few things that he said about consumption and capital allocation, U.S. over allocation of talent in finance and law. More people should be making stuff. Manufacturing is looked down upon. He thinks that is wrong and that somebody has to make the stuff or provide the service. And I think that he, at heart, he's out there actually practicing what he preaches. He's out there making stuff. He's not just, he could sit on the sidelines right now. He could retire and just on the money that he already has, would never have to worry about finances. He would do just fine, right? But he's not. He's continuing to try to push forward.
No, he has to push forward. Let's talk about one of the red flags that kind of bothers me. Okay. I think the biggest red flag, and people are talking about this, is the fact that no insurance company in the world will write D&O, that's director and officer insurance, for the board of directors of Tesla. That is something that is so meaningful. What that actually means is that when you look at the potential tail risk in the accounting of Tesla, and like there are things like regulatory credits, for example, like they get to manipulate regulatory credits, from what I understand, quarter by quarter to kind of push, right, regulatory credits in one quarter so that it shows that they're more profitable, the margins are better with the regulatory credits. And like, it's very confusing. There's so much happening that no insurance company in the world will insure a director or officer of Tesla. So Elon has to personally use his own money to insure
self-insure the board because he's uninsurable.
Do you realize that has never happened before? It's insane. Did my camera freeze again? Oh, it's insane. It's actually insane.
Well, yeah, it's a huge
real tail risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Is he the only executive in the world that is uninsurable? I'm sure there's others, right?
I don't know of any, but I mean, his whole board is uninsurable.
Well, I think that's just because he's on it. I imagine that if he was
they're
not
associated with him and Tesla,
because he put them on the board. Yeah.
It's funny. I know you mentioned it earlier, but Neuralink, Dave, could you talk a little bit about this? 'Cause I think this is fascinating. There are people on Twitter that are that are raising their hand saying that they would like to be the test cases for Neuralink
Oh, my
because it
goodness.
would basically Neuralink. They could essentially shut off your pain threshold, right? Like they could shut off your pain sensors in your
It
body.
basically
theoretically.
eventually turns into this episode of Black Mirrors where your brain can have these. Basically, what Neuralink is developing currently is a early stage thing that it basically they drill a hole in your skull that's about 1 inch in diameter, and they hook these wires into your brain that stimulate parts. It's locally inserted into the brain, and the initial use cases are to help people with severe brain injuries regain, the ability to move muscles or to restore vision or hearing or that sort of thing.
How is Elon involved, Dave?
He is the co-founder of this company. And it's called Neuralink. I'll pull up their website if you want to see it.
And it's private, correct?
It is currently a private company. And basically they've developed this technology, and they've developed a robot that actually inserts the electrodes into your brain. They stitch you up, and then it can interface anywhere. It's like locally, but eventually he imagines a world where your entire brain could be connected to these wires. And initially this is a very small use case of people with severe brain injuries, but in the future, and he was pushed on how far in the future. He said 5 to 10 years, maybe more like 10 years. Maybe that's like the earliest case that something like this could happen. But basically can fix anything that's wrong with the brain. It's a microcontroller that controls muscle groups, restores limb functionality. They compared it to the bionic, what is it, the $6 million man, or the $6 billion man in this case, because 6 million is nothing these days. But he says that in the world of AI, he co-founded this AI kind of institute that is a nonprofit that I don't think he's still involved with, although he's still a donor to it. But he basically says AI is getting better, and that if you assume a benign scenario where AI becomes like a sentient being, that it could, that we're already kind of cyborg to some degree because you're constantly looking at your devices and your laptop and things. This is just would increase the speed with which you can communicate. So right now, the slowest part of checking something on your phone is actually opening the app or typing in what you're looking for. And if that communication could be streamlined through a brain implant, it creates this closer connection to a device that could help you with being able to remember everything, or kind of like when you're watching a movie played back that you shot on your iPhone, it's a perfect memory. You could record and relive things through a direct brain implant. It's very Black Mirror. I don't know where this is going, but he's pioneering this technology. He talked about the data rate. Like right now, you can maybe interface with a machine at 100 bits per second. A computer can do that at 100 terabytes per second. And once you solve that input-output problem, you can basically be able to communicate without words. That language is kind of this roadblock to communication. For me to explain to you what he said is me taking what I heard yesterday, compressing it down to words and saying it to you, and then it's being decompressed by you as you're listening to what I'm saying, and part of it you're understanding, part of it you're not. I'm not explaining it right. So language is a very kind of limiting way of communicating, and this kind of direct communication to a device or even to another human could be the future of communication. It's very strange to think about. But
should we try to invest in that one?
I would
we're
love
in SpaceX.
I
Should we
would
add
love
that
to
our
get
list?
some shares in this new brain implant company. I would love it. But anyway,
We'll have Chase look
it
into
was a
that for us.
fascinating conversation that and you know, he kind of talked about how machines will have consciousness. You know, if you think about how hydrogen over time turned into all of the elements that we have now, and 13 billion years later, we're having this conversation, and I'm talking to you over electronic communication, and we have hundreds of people watching this conversation right now. Just imagine the future where this is just, where I could have this conversation without having you reboot your laptop, right?
You see,
If this
Dave,
was just
the
natural.
problem with this, and here's why I don't want to invest in this company. Like, the problem with this is that this would sound a lot more exciting if 3 weeks ago, or whenever it was, not 6 weeks ago, Elon didn't come out in mid-March and say that he thought there would be 0 cases of COVID in the United States on April 1st. Because
I think he took an
loses
extreme
all
stance.
credibility
So
in
it's
terms
kind of all or nothing, right? So there were people saying this is going to be the worst thing that has ever been experienced on planet Earth, and then there were people saying it's nothing and it's going to go away and it's going to there will be a miracle and it will disappear. Two extremes, and I don't think that you can ever be right if you're on any extreme, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere
Yeah.
in the middle is the truth, and
Yeah.
trying to pick that course is difficult. And if you over prepare and go too far, you're going to have these people saying, no, that's too much. And if you under prepare and more people die, you're gonna have these people saying that's too much. So it's a really delicate balance, right? And so I think that he has been pegged as early on saying that it's not going to exist and nothing to worry about. He obviously was taking this extreme side, and we know that that's not right, but there's not a correct answer on either side of an extreme spectrum. You talk about you being a radical centrist, right?
A radical centrist. That's
centrist.
Like,
Yes.
I am a radical centrist. Okay.
Yes.
Like,
and I would self-identify as a radical centrist too. I think that both sides on the extremes are nuts.
yeah.
But
yes.
I can find, not maybe dead in the middle, but somewhere on this part of the spectrum, see how good I am at knowing where I am in the frame? If this is the entire spectrum, I'm somewhere here, right?
But Dave, no. It's not just being here. We have to do this differently. We're a radical centrist. Like, we'll take the center, but we're going to turn the center upside down.
We are in the dead center, but then also looking at this other axis. Yes.
What are you talking about?
I think we've lost it as much as Elon himself.
Well, hey, you know who I think would agree with our radical centrist? Probably Elon would totally understand. He'd be like, "Oh, radical centrist, that makes total sense to me."
I know, right? and actually, if you read his Wikipedia article, that's where I get half of my information. Is that's how he's described as not being radical on either side. He is, he has disagreements with both extremes, right? But I think he means well, and I like him as a technologist, futurist who's going to help push things further. I feel like the fact that you and I are having this conversation and we meet, multiple times per week over the internet and have these kind of conversations, I think has pushed us forward. I don't think you and I would have done a FaceTime call had we not been forced to stay in our houses for a month. Or voluntarily stayed in our houses 6 weeks before we were asked to stay home, and voluntarily staying in our houses 6 weeks after we were told that we're allowed to go out. I mean, we're extreme, right?
We are extreme. Hey, can we talk about batteries for a minute?
Can we?
This is a big part of the Tesla story. Okay, so we all know that Battery Day is coming at some point this month. It's really dependent on when the factory can open. But, I sent you guys some information about kind of a battery scandal at Tesla right now that's unfolding. And it's essentially, there are people that are saying that what Tesla has done is they have re-engineered the chemistry of their batteries to essentially overperform at the very, very beginning of its life to have extraordinary performance for the EPA ratings, okay? And then in the first year of the battery life, the battery goes down by like 8 to 10%, which is not normal. Okay, all the other battery makers, they go down maybe 1%, right, in the first year, 1 or 2. So, but they have engineered it to basically mess with the system. And again, a lot of this comes from pressure. Tesla is under enormous pressure to be better, right? They're under enormous pressure to get sales of cars. Otherwise, the whole company can go under. You remember how many times in the last 18 months we thought Tesla might go under completely? So when you're under that type of pressure, it creates you make really rash decisions. And I'm worried that Tesla has made a crazy decision to do that at the same time where the old me might have been like, this is fraudulent. I'll never invest in this company. This is insane. This is going to blow up the company. The new me is like, you know what? I think they'll get away with it. I don't think anyone's going to get. I don't think it's going to go anywhere because I think he is such a monster when it comes to I think the whole world has gotten to this place where nothing matters anymore, right? So yes, exactly.
The news cycle has become so short, and everything can be overshadowed by the next news cycle that we're in a very strange time where there could be radical news that would have dominated the collective conversation for months in even as little as 5 years ago, where now that radical information could be overshadowed by another piece of radical information the next day or the next day or the next day. And if you learn to manipulate that, you can get away with anything now.
Here's the thing with the batteries. Everybody knows about it, right? Like, this isn't any new information. Every single person that's buying a Tesla goes out and researches this thing to the tilt. All the information on battery drawdown is online. There are charts and graphs you can find in a million different places. And when you buy your car, you can actually chart and graph and track your performance compared to everybody else. And so that's one of the things that, I mean, I do agree that they're probably trying to juice the battery numbers as much as they possibly can. But everybody that's buying already knows it. So I don't think it's necessarily a big
But do you know what's great about Tesla? Hold on, can I say what's so great about Tesla, and this would be so wrong for most companies, is that Tesla is the only automotive company in the world that is like, let's juice it for the EPA. And Elon's like, that's a brilliant idea, guys. Juice it for the EPA. Let's see if we can push it to 500 instead of 400 when the next best is 300, right? In terms of how long. And
it's a different way of handling it. So Apple, for example, you know that your iPhone, it's just the nature of batteries, your iPhone is going to lose battery performance over time. Yeah. And so their way of combating that was in the software saying, well, on day one, we know the battery's brand new, so we can run faster processes. And as it gets older and the battery is less reliable or performing at a lower level, we're going to reduce the speed with which our operations are trying to use the battery. So, and that became this thing that they weren't talking about. They were trying to do the right thing. They were trying to make your phone last longer, knowing that the physics of batteries drain over time and batteries are not going to last forever. So they tried to make the life of your phone last forever. But because secretly they were slowing your phone down over time, they had this bad perception that what they were doing was crippling the phone because they wanted you to buy the next phone. When the reality is it's a physics problem that they were trying to solve with software.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. And you'll see that there's another thing that Apple's done recently, and that's that they slow charge your phone overnight, and then they'll only add that extra 20% at the very end. There's a reason for that, and that's that these lithium-ion batteries work best between like 40 and 80% charged.
Yeah,
right?
A fully charged battery is bad for the battery.
What Tesla does is they only charge your car up to a certain amount unless you know that you need it to go to a higher charge, and they're doing that to try to get you better battery capacity also. Well, just but what's amazing is battery longevity is what
what's amazing is that at one point Elon walked into the engineering room and said, guys, you must push this to 400. I want it there. I don't care what it takes. And they're like, well, we could do this. And he's like, sounds awesome. Do that. I don't care. Get it to 400. Whereas at Ford, no one's walking in and going, do whatever it takes. I don't care what it is. I don't want to know about it. Whatever it takes, get to 400. Did you hear? I don't want to know about it. Just do whatever it takes. No one's doing that at Ford or Toyota. They just, no one cares.
Right. And we know for a fact that that's the way that Jobs operated also. Right?
Yes,
so he was walking in, talking to engineers, talking to designers, trying to get every little thing that he wanted done before you could get the product out the door.
And at the end of the day, Jordan, that is why when I woke up this morning, the first thing I did was I upped my Tesla position because I know, listen, this investment is not about, security. It's not about everything is right. It's not about, can Elon, is he a good steward of my money at Tesla? In many ways, you can say absolutely not. The guy is the highest, you can't even get insured, right? At the same time, in a weird way, if the position is sized appropriately, Tesla has the potential to be anything over the next 15 years, 20 years, anything. There's no telling where this could go. So for me, I don't know what the right position in Jordan is for you or you, Dave, but like for me, there's some amount of money that I need. I feel like, and I'm glad that I was pushed to think about this really seriously the last, few weeks to a couple months, because I never really thought about that hard. I just always thought they were a fraud company and I don't want anything to do with them. I've done so well just speculatively the last few months on these Tesla trades that now I really want to think deeply about it. And I feel like there's a portion of my portfolio that needs to just put a little money on crazy. Okay. And like, this is me putting a little money on crazy, because sometimes you just got to be crazy enough to do ridiculous things and push the limits of the law, push the limits of morality, push the limits of everything, just to do something so spectacular. And you know what? I can feel comfortable, even if Tesla blows up and goes to zero at some point, I now can live with that. I know what I'm getting involved with, and I'm willing to put that much of my portfolio. It's about I don't know, it's 400. I don't know, it's 3% of my portfolio, 2.5% of my portfolio on absolute crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you could have put that percentage of your portfolio in some kind of old-timey ETF that was an Einstein ETF, you probably would have done it. Or a Nikolai Tesla ETF, you would have done it. Or probably a better investment would have been the Thomas Edison ETF, but you would have done it, right? So this, to me, it's like there's a place in my investment portfolio for the mad scientist. And I like what he's doing, and I think that he will push our society, our technology further and faster than probably any other CEO alive today.
So Jordan, like I was really looking forward to this episode because I wanted to kind of flush all these thoughts out. And because I know listen, I don't know how much you've been thinking about all this, but does this change things for you too? Like, I know you got out of Tesla. Are you considering getting back in a little bit, maybe less than before? I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider getting back in. I don't know. I mean, look, the instability that he provides, I mean, there's arguments that it's great, and there's arguments that it's absolutely awful, right? And do I need to have a little bit of exposure? Sure. Am I going to buy 500 shares? No, maybe I buy 100 or something like that, just to have a little bit of exposure to crazy. I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
do you buy them today?
Look, I mean, so I hate buying it at 800. I really do.
You always do this, man.
He does this, and you sit on the sidelines and you lose out.
I know.
Yeah, you always do this. Maybe get 50 today, and if it drops to 700 or 600, get 50 next week. But like I feel like if you feel that you should have a little Tesla in your life, a little Elon in your life, start with it right now. Because like who knows? But like just do a little at a time. Just get some on the show right now. And
I have 500 today, and I think I'm going to buy 500 more today.
Well, wait, you have how many already, Dave?
I have 500, and I think I'm
getting
going to
another
500. Yes.
How much? You're going to have 1,000 shares?
1,000 shares.
That's a lot of
that is
crazy.
A lot.
That's a lot of crazy, Dave.
I may have gone a little bit crazy after doing all this research. after watching 2 hours of him talking, it was.
Dave, can I just leave you with this? A little bit of crazy goes a long way. That's all I'm going to say.
That is true. That is true. So
a little bit of crazy goes a long way.
What I might do, and my strategy, I will probably, instead of just buying the shares, I'm going to write some puts that will give me those shares if it goes down, or give me some income if it doesn't, right? Or I will continue to write covered calls on the shares that I have and hedge myself and give me a little income, capping my losses in the event that, Tesla is a volatile stock. The premiums are crazy. So if I do that on the way down, I will still be making money every week if I just do the weekly options.
Before we get to some of our user comments, and we'll address those in a minute, I think we can't have a conversation about Elon and Tesla without talking about level 5 self-driving robo-taxis.
Level 5 self-driving
how
robo
close are we?
taxis. Is this is that a thing? Like, is that a name of something that I need to Google real quick?
Yes, that's Elon's, vision. Like, go to these.
Well, I know his vision is self-driving semis and cars and taxis and hyperloops.
Level 5.
And he has a lot of things. Is level 5 what you call it?
That's what other people were calling it.
Smash the like button for that. That's not a term that I've heard. But we actually do need everybody watching. We need everybody to smash the like button, because I feel like we've said something that is demonetized or hurt the algorithm because we dropped in viewership. Maybe it's our hot takes on Tesla.
What, just during our show?
We're down to only 263 people watching right now. I've got to go
hit
look
that
at
like
some stats.
so that YouTube
Hit the
knows
like
to
button.
keep promoting the show.
Well, we know Leon had to
because
bounce
otherwise we
there's
get kicked off.
with Bitcoin.
Yeah, Leon took everyone to his crypto meeting. Is what happened.
What? Okay, I'm gonna have to make him no longer an admin on this.
Here's the thing, though, the self-driving car. I mean, Elon, I think he doubled down on 2020. I heard. I don't know if that's for real or what, but like he's doubling down on the fact that this software update's going to make his cars into self-driving taxis by the end of the year. That's what I heard.
I can't wait for that. I will buy one just for that.
I think that's just another one of those things, man. I think he's crazy. I think he's like way too soon on it, but I think it is a game changer when it happens. I do think that everything I've read, at one point a few months ago, I went in so deep on self-driving technology and what they're doing over at Google, right, with their subsidiary, and some of the other. I was reading into engineer blogs about this, just the way that the visualization technology works, right? And I do think that Elon and Tesla have a pretty significant strategic advantage in their approach, because their approach is more about data than about kind of hardware, like, which is what Google and what's Google's subsidiary? What is it? Self-driving car. Not Waymo. Waymo.
Is that it?
Yeah. And so I do feel that there's something there. And I don't know how it all comes together ultimately, because I don't necessarily believe that it's people's Teslas that are leaving their driveway to go do self-driver duty, like Robo duty for like 4 hours or something. I just don't see that happening. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like there's a whole new fleet of Teslas that will come out for this purpose, right?
Right.
And I could see, and that to me is actually super exciting, because it means that, like, goodbye Uber and Lyft and all that stuff. Like, by the way, everyone's so into like the Uber tech and stuff. It's that difficult, right? I mean, if you have the car technology, to do it with data that Tesla has, I think you could build the consumer app pretty quick and like circumvent Uber and Lyft, right? And just have it be Tesla share.
A Tesla app where you request a Tesla to come pick you up, driverless, and they could actually dominate that. And people would buy these cars, put them on the road, and know they're going to be money-making machines. Tesla could put their own cars on the road at cost and just have them
But Dave, do you know what the biggest part of it is? You know what the most beautiful part is? And here, I've been thinking about this a lot.
What is the most beautiful part?
For a lot of companies to do this, they have to think, like, we have to have parking lots. Also, we have to have a brand. We have to build a brand overnight that people are going to care about and do. Tesla could do this.
We lost you again. Are you
Tesla
plugged into
could
the
do
internet
this.
today?
Worked out for their car.
We lost you for a second.
sorry.
You
Hold
said
on.
Tesla could do this, ...
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, so Tesla can do this, and I can see them doing this and saying, you know what? We're going to do it with our customers. So every customer that has an interest in doing this can buy a Tesla, one of these cheap little Tesla Robo cars, and the place that it's going to sit all day is your driveway or your street. So they don't have to build out any infrastructure, right? The people will do this as like a second business, right? So kind of like being an Uber driver. Like, exactly. I can have 4 of these in front of my house, and every 24 hours a day when they're not charging, they could be making runs. I finance it. Because, you know, Elon's all about creative financing, right? So why would Tesla finance it? Let the world finance it. Let everyone, right, democratize the whole concept. And everybody that wants to have an Uber Robo taxi can get one, put it in their front yard, their garage, and have it working 24 hours a day.
That's in your neighborhood.
So basically,
Taking
you're a
the most
Lyft
efficient
driver,
route.
but you don't have to spend your time, right?
And I
That's
would do
the
that.
Lyft driver
I
I
love it.
want to be.
Yeah.
You could buy a fleet of these. You could have them all parked at the, you'd have to buy parking places somewhere, but that's for you to figure out, and Tesla doesn't have to worry about it. They just provide the technology.
And do you know what, guys? When that happens, if I even have an inkling of that happening, I should tweet Elon about this. The money that I will make, not on Tesla, the money that I will make shorting Uber and Lyft, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So
Are you going to wait for it to go back up before you do this, though? Because, you know, they're already at depressed prices.
Yeah.
Not
No.
really.
So
Uber's almost back up.
Yeah, it blows my mind. I don't get that. But
Well, hey, Jared Spencer 1205 says you need a crazy insurance plan. Maybe, or maybe Tesla would have their own insurance that you could pay into, and Tesla, it would be like a shared, right? A self-written insurance with Tesla for the drivers and stuff.
We've already talked about how Elon is familiar with self-insuring. Maybe he will just self-insure all of these cars.
Why not?
It wouldn't be out of the question. He can afford it.
Why not?
I mean, he's probably bigger than most insurance companies just in his personal bank account.
Why not?
That's a fact that needs to be checked. I don't think that's actually probably true. So I did look at our YouTube, and it looks like we were flagged. So we are no longer going to be talking about the pandemic formerly known as COVID by name. We're just going to refer to it as maybe pandemic. That may be why we have fewer people watching today, is because there's a yellow flag next to us. I've submitted it for a manual review. We're not talking about it. We're talking about Tesla.
Yeah,
You're
we're just
watching this
talking-
right now and you work
this.
at YouTube.
Yeah.
Please just say yes. Let people watch this video.
It's a thing that happened in the world. We all know it happened. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
But they're saying that they're determining whether or not this particular show is suitable. So who knows? But I did see a big spike in impressions right around the time that I said to smash the like button. So it does look like they went from not showing us as much to showing us because of you guys. Thank you guys. All of the viewers who hit it. And if your little thumb icon in the browser is not blue, smash it. Okay, thanks. That's rant complete.
Hey, CS, I will announce something for the viewers here. CS at 12:04, talking about my Peloton trade. Now it's our Peloton, all of our Peloton trade. Thank you. I want to announce this is the first time in my 32-year trading career that I have made $1 million on a trade in over a course of about a week and a half. So
single trade.
It was a single trade. Looks like roughly. I haven't done the exact calculations, but I think it's like roughly right at about $1 million win on Tesla, and that's off. By the way, that was just off initially $150,000 of options, and eventually 30,000 shares of equity as well. But thank you. It was a big week for us at Dumb Money. It was a big week for me. I have been trying to unwind over the past 48 hours. I sold the last of those options today. So I'm now fully exited out of the options. I'm keeping my equity, keeping my Peloton equity. But man, it was an awesome experience. So thank you. If you didn't see that last Peloton show, guys, it's a 3-hour show. We did it live. It was freaking awesome.
I loved it. And there's a lull in the middle while we're waiting for the earnings to come out, and during the conference call, but before and after, that show was fire. You guys need to watch it. And I will announce that because of your $1 million trade, you now owe $370,000 in taxes. Wah, wah.
You know what? So I right after I made that trade, I read on Twitter it was trending. There was trending, capital gains was trending, and there was actually the Trump administration, which it will never get passed. The Democrats will pass it. Are actually talking about canceling the capital gains tax this year to where you pay zero. I was like, if that actually happened with the year
in the year where you made your biggest short-term gain
ever by like 10x. If that happened, I would have a heart attack because I would then know that something equally horrific is going to happen. There's no person gets that lucky in 1 year. So that won't happen. But if it did, I'm almost.
Yeah, I don't call that luck, Chris. That was skill. You skilled that thing right.
It's still you still have things going your way. So I appreciate that, Jordan. But it was anyway. So I'm just reading through comments here to see if there's anything that we have not addressed. Oh, are you guys sticking with Terrell?
So by the way, you made $1 million on Peloton. I made the trade after you finally convinced me to, and I have made $950 so far.
Yes.
Cash money.
We'll take it.
So I'm a little late to the trade, but you think I should take it? Sell? It's down today. Down 3% today.
Nah.
Now I'm going to buy more now that it's down.
Your 1,000 shares, let it ride.
Corey Schottenstein at 1202. Are you guys sticking with Darrell? This is like that little $60 million micro market cap company in Canada. We did zero research, but they do own Schwinn and Cannondale.
So they actually had earnings this morning.
They did? I didn't even see. What did they do?
They were fine. They were mildly disappointing. I didn't go completely over it.
But they're up. They're up.
Yeah, I mean it's up 20% from when I bought it. So probably a little bit, probably 30% from where you bought it.
Yeah. So nice.
Fine.
I'll listen to the earnings call. Corey, I got it right now. I haven't sold it. I bought $30,000. I'm up like 10 grand almost on the thing. I know nothing about it, but yeah, I'm going to, I'll check it out. I feel like we made our call, Dave, when it was like literally, was it like 160 or something? I don't know. It was
it was way down there.
Did you buy it, Dave?
I did not buy any.
Okay. Yeah, I bought it, but I bought 10 cents later than Chris did.
Did those earnings come out before the market today?
Yeah.
So it was down initially and has come up.
Yeah, I'll listen to the conference call and see. I don't think I want to be in a stock that small cap for long, though. I mean, it was just a trade. It was just a trade on the whole Schwinn and Cannondale and people going crazy for bicycles right now.
The thing is, it still was only their first quarter earnings, right? So most of the bike sales will probably come in the second quarter. So who knows?
Oh, for sure. It's all going to come in next quarter. So maybe they didn't put out guidance.
That's what. Yeah, I didn't read the guidance. I just looked at the top line. The top line was like, mildly disappointing, but maybe their guide is good or they didn't guide.
Yeah, I might stick in it for the rest of the quarter, actually, for this next quarter. Let's see here. Pedro Talarico at 11:59. Online clothing companies are going nuts today. Revolve up 30%. I don't know why online clothing companies are going nuts today, but I do know that I'm happy that I did not double down in Roku yesterday. Remember, Dave, we were talking about that?
Yep.
I was like, I just don't see enough. There's too many variables. And I sold all of my trade desks. Do you remember I told you that? I sold the trade desk yesterday before earnings, and trade desk is down. It was down. Oh, it's not down that much now. It's only down $7. Wow. Now I feel kind of terrible. I sold it all. It was down huge. It was down a lot this morning. Anyway, let's see what else. FLIR, buy more FLIR. Pedro, same thing, 1158. I did buy more FLIR this week, guys. I have a lot of FLIR now. I don't know what it's doing today. FLIR is the thermal imaging company. I just kind of feel like this thing is going to just not stop. Jordan, I was talking to Jordan the other day about all the manufacturing and warehousing facilities in the world where if people don't show up for work, they have to close down. It's not like a corporation. So it's not like a business. It's not like an office building, right? Sorry. It's not like an office building. So I think almost every warehouse and manufacturing plant in the world might have to buy one of these thermal imaging machines to basically sense if people have fevers when they're walking in and out of the building. And that they're only made, I think, by like 4 companies in the world that I found. So
yes,
FLIR,
and the news came out yesterday that General Motors is going to use FLIR once it resumes its operation. So that was the big news story that drove the stock this morning and yesterday.
And by the way, that is a huge endorsement of FLIR's equipment, because what happens now is when a company like General Motors says that, if I'm a sales guy, I am a sales. That's my whole world is sales, right? That's what I've done for most of my career. I'm going to use that in every sales meeting, right? I'm going to walk into every sales meeting and they're going to say, well, why should we use your thermal imaging versus, so and so. Well, I mean, GM did all the due diligence and they picked us, right?
Yeah.
And that is like gold, right?
And yesterday they also won a $20 million contract to provide some kind of system to the U.S. Army Soldier-Borne Sensor Program.
Even better. The military did it. You know how hard the military due diligence is when they secure products?
So both of those news things hitting the wire yesterday caused this spike we see in the share price. So that's big news.
Yeah, I have, let's see how much FLIR I got now. Take a look here real quick. I upped my position this week to, where are we, FLIR?
I have 1,000 shares or 3,000 shares while we're waiting for Chris. I have 3,000 shares currently worth $118,000.
10,000 shares
wow.
of FLIR. So far, I'm up $74,000 in my FLIR position. So hopefully it keeps going in the right direction. I feel like we have that's a company I probably want to be in for another few months, as long as this whole thing continues. And if I see this, if I see dramatic, decreases in transmission rates, hospitalizations, and it looks like we're gonna, we get a vaccine, something like that, I'll be out of FLIR in a second if I hear that a vaccine is working. So, but what wasn't one of you guys telling me that you think that even after this, we could see companies continuing to use this, because wouldn't it save companies money if someone with the regular flu,
that's what I was thinking, right? I don't understand why you wouldn't want, let's say you invest the money to go ahead and put this in your office or in your factory or whatever. I don't see why you wouldn't just have this thing up and running all the time. I mean, it's gonna save you, right? In the end, let's say you're doing a poultry processing plant, right? You don't want to shut that thing down when the flu comes through and hits.
Yeah,
or even lose productivity, right? Because if you can get a sick person, if you could remove them quicker, even if they have the regular flu, that would be great for just general office health, right? That's
what I'm saying. That could make 5 other people sick that day. When you just sent them home, you just saved 5 people from getting sick.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that we, I think, as a society are becoming more aware of communicable diseases, and temperature checks just make sense. They should have it at office buildings, at airports, at football stadiums. Wouldn't that make sense?
Let's talk about schools. I mean, I've got a daughter that's in preschool right now, and they had to shut down, not her preschool, but another preschool that was down the road because there was a flu outbreak last semester. So that's
why, Jordan? I think I'm going to call FLIR today and offer to buy one of these. Depending on how expensive they are, I might buy one and donate it to my school district for my kid's middle school next year. I know that sounds kind of crazy.
Well, no, look, let's say that happens. There would be a news story about it, and the other schools would be like, wait a second.
Yeah, you absolutely should.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that just for my kids. And then, hey, if it ends up going viral that schools are buying them, and I'll say, all I want you to do is do a press release, national press release, talking about how you're putting the school. And then if it helps FLIR go up, I'll probably make my money back, times 10 on whatever it costs me. Now, I do want to address Tim White, 1153. I feel like this guy has messaged us before about this, and I forgot about it. And I think I'm glad, Tim, thanks for reminding us, because Logitech, LOGI, 1153 is a company
my comments don't go back that far.
Sorry. Okay. So you said, Chris, any thoughts on Logitech? They pretty much own streaming and video calls with their webcams and their acquisition of Streamlabs, OBS. The trends for webcam and OBS are insane. Earnings Monday. Okay. So I wasn't planning on doing any deep dive research today before market close. I don't know if Tim, are earnings before or after market on Monday? I will do a little work on them, and if nothing else, I'll, maybe tweet something about it if I see something interesting. I'm not in Logitech, but it's definitely worth a look. We can pull some a G trend chart on Logitech and see if it's who knows.
Well, and he's saying the
They
whole
own-
OBS streaming solution. OBS is like this open source broadcast platform that people use to do live streaming to YouTube and Facebook and those kind of things. We don't use it, but that's only because I can't even imagine trying to explain to Chris how to make a video call to me and then being able to patch that in. It would be even a bigger disaster than today's show. But OBS is big. Slobs, the Streamlabs version of OBS is this like layer on top of the OBS platform, and I think that's what Logitech has acquired. So that could be big for them, and just the whole idea of webcams right now. Everybody has a webcam, and if it's not built into your laptop, you're going to have a laptop, a Logitech or a real camera like I do.
I'm looking into Logitech. I think it's one that I'm surprised I didn't spend time on during this whole cycle, but I'll check into it. What else we got here? I'm looking back through my.
So scroll to the bottom to the most recent comments. Okay. Do you think? Okay, so yes, here's some people commenting on Logitech. We are on a delay, just the way YouTube works. So we don't get your comments or you don't see us for 30 seconds, and so if you're commenting, we don't get it right away. But we are trying to respond to as many things as possible. So FLIR sells $300 and $10,000 camera system. So Chris, which one are you buying?
I'm fine to buy.
They also have a thermal drone.
Here's the thing, like even if I buy like I don't know, it's a single point of entry for the middle school. I don't know if it's a $10,000, $6,000 system, I get to write that off because it's a school district, they're nonprofit, right? And you know my taxes are going to be at the high bracket this year. So if I spend $6,000 of that, it would only cost me maybe $4,000, and I'm doing something good for my school district, my neighborhood, the kids, and quite honestly, I'm neurotic about this stuff. If I can prevent my kids from getting sick if they go back to school, that alone will make me feel better. So I am.
Are there any privacy concerns? To me, it's taking an image that overlays a heat map. It's not like, and you're in a public space, right? To me, it's not like it's an X-ray machine that's taking your clothes off or anything.
I think it's just like colors, right? It's like colors.
Yeah.
And it's not like no one's really looking at it. It just tells you, when someone is warmer. And what's so great about it is with the school, like unlike a factory where people are coming and going all day, the kids all come in at one time, like over like 15 minutes. So they can literally have the machine on for 15 minutes. And I think the machine works best when you have lots of people coming through it because it measures the differences between different people. So people can come in all at one time and they have someone manning it. And then that's it. It's literally on once 15 minutes a day when the kids come in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I think it could be awesome.
Chris, do you have thoughts on Home Depot? Question came in from Truth Austin, and then we have someone who actually is saying that Home Depot sales are high because they work there. Online sales are through the roof.
I love it when we have followers who are sharing that type of information with us.
Yeah, because if you think about it, what we do in normal times is we would drive to our local Home Depot and ask the checkout person, hey, is it busier now than last time? And we would do that at 5 different locations and spend 2 hours of our day trying to track down just some anecdotal information from the people at the checkout stand or the people who are helping. Is it busy here than usual? Are people buying more expensive or less expensive? Is the construction area of the store doing better than usual? That sort of thing. It's great to have people just share that with us without having to drive.
Sure. And Home Depot is great. We all own Home Depot, right? Dave, did you ever buy Home Depot?
Yeah,
I'm in Home Depot for sure.
Farden, thank you so much for that comment, Farden. Farden saying at Home Depot we opened up new space to store online orders because of the high volume. That is great information. I said, like when I wrote my book, Laughing at Wall Street, one of the things I said was, everyone thinks that Wall Street has all this intelligence. They have these big firms and trading floors and research staffs. Well, I work with all the research staffs on Wall Street, Bank of America, Jefferies, and they're great and they're big, but they are nothing when you compare them to the research that we could collectively do, tens of thousands of people. We live all around the world. We work in these industries, right? Like our combined shared intelligence by having Farden come on and share that comment with us is so much deeper and more interesting than what a suit sitting in an office in New York City that's just doing research on a computer is able to do. Trust me, guys. The intelligence that you can get off Wall Street is far superior than anything you can get when you're working for a financial institution. So these, this whole concept of us talking about these trades and researching the trades and having you guys chime in on them, the larger we can build this community, the larger we can build this audience, the more Fardens we'll have in various industries that will say, hey, I work in this industry. I work at this company. Let me tell you what it's really like. Right? Like, hey, I have, 10 friends that had Pelotons, and 2 weeks ago I had 2 friends. This type of crowdsourced social intelligence is everything, guys. So please keep sharing it if you have good tips.
And I think it's interesting that his little icon that got randomly assigned to him is Home Depot colors. It's the little things. Thank you, Farden, for the information, and it's great.
No, I love it. So I have my Home Depot, and I also added Lowe's this last week. So now I have about $500,000, which is substantial, of a combination of Home Depot and Lowe's. Because to me, I'm not going to do the work to figure out which one's doing better right now. It's not important to me.
Well, I think it's probably about the same, right? It's just whichever one's closer to wherever you live, they're probably doing about the same.
Yeah,
business.
I don't really care. I just see them as the same company. And listen, at a normal time, I think you can pick a winner and a loser. During a time like this, I'm investing in them as a mini sector almost. So I love that trade. And you know what? They're still off their highs. I think they're still 15% off their highs, right?
I think Lowe's is. I don't know. Home Depot's gotten up there. They're pretty close.
Okay. Ford, Surya Ganesh at 1226 wants to know about Ford, which is one of our picks. So Ford is one of our 3 bounce back picks that we're invested in: Ford, Royal Caribbean, and Wynn Casinos. These are stocks that we feel, and before I tell you how we feel, remember, we're not financial advisors. So this is not financial advice. Don't do what we do, guys. Our risk tolerance is different than yours. This is educational purposes and entertainment only. So, guys, we take lots of risk. But these are 3 companies that we kind of feel have the balance sheet to maybe survive the next 6 to 9 months on either, not no sales for Ford. But we think that they could pop here. I think Ford, if they can get going this summer and they get their plants open in the next 4 weeks, if they can have even a reasonable June, July, I think Ford, hopefully can pop into a more reasonable level, and I'll exit Ford at that point. Wynn is a company that I think can survive throughout the entire winter if need be, and come out of this when we hopefully get a vaccine next spring. I think Wynn could pop back up to something close to its old highs. And they own all their own real estate. So like Wynn could sell the real estate that their casinos sit on for somewhere between $3 and $5 billion, and then use that cash to survive to 2022 if they need to. And then Royal Caribbean is just a completely ridiculous trade, but it's been our cruiser's gonna cruise. I mean, we've been saying that since the beginning. We don't believe so much in Royal Caribbean as much as we believe in cruisers. And we don't know when cruisers are gonna start cruising again. We just know that they will. So the question is, if they can stay alive until then, we do have conviction that at some point in the future, cruisers are gonna come back harder than they've ever come back. And that if they can just stay away from bankruptcy, that they will flourish at some time in the future.
Did you see the CEO of Norwegian Cruise Lines on Mad Money last night? I thought that was a great interview. He basically said that, we run the cleanest operation. We shut down as soon as we shut down before any of the other cruise operators. We plan to be back cruising this year, but we now have secured the financing that if we are unable to have any revenue for the next 18 months, we're still liquid. So that was, I thought, a pretty bold statement from a cruise line CEO to say that we're good. We're good for 18 months, even if we have to keep our boats out of the water.
Yeah,
and imagine how expensive it is to maintain one of those floating cities.
It is, but listen, man, you got to understand something. If we can get through this, and there's 2 shows that we're going to do, guys, in the next couple weeks. I don't know when we're going to schedule them, but there'll be Monday and Thursday. So maybe they'll be next week. I don't know. The 2 shows that we are going to do for sure. One is vaccine trades. At some point, we're going to get really positive information. We hope on a vaccine. And as soon as we get that, there are stocks that we are going to pour into, okay? And we want to know exactly what those stocks are, the stocks that are going to jump the most and the hardest on positive vaccine news. So that's coming up. What was the other one? The other was kind of quite the opposite type of episode, Dave. It was, I said it was, the other one was, I don't remember. It was based, it was a second wave. It was a second wave. Yeah.
Yes. So both sides of this, we want to have trades ready to go when the good news comes out about some kind of vaccine that's going to be more effective than what we've seen so far, or the bad news of this May experiment is resulting in greater hospitalizations, second wave, bigger. What are we going to do in either case?
Yeah, and I don't mean
that might be one episode where we present here's what we're ready to do and ready to pull the trigger on if things get better, and here's what to do if things get worse.
That would be like a 4-hour episodes. I don't think we can. Honestly, guys, this is subject matter that I'm super excited about, because I think, and I could be wrong, but I think we're going to get a window of dumb money here to kind of, I don't want to call it front running, but basically to kind of get in front of those news events, because we're watching this whole second wave really closely. And if we start to see things that we think could basically trend into a second wave, I think we can get in front of the news cycle and put on some massive leverage shorts on second wave companies that do not have the balance sheets to support a second wave of this virus. And I want to know exactly what I'm going to do. I want to know exactly what stocks I'm going to short. And then on the contrary, if we get that vaccine news, first of all, I want to know when the vaccine news is coming. I want to get in behind the rumors. A lot of these things are leaking early, right? I want to be looking for that. And in the event we think we're going to get that vaccine news, like I think Oxford is the first one that's going to report. There's a couple others that are close to reporting in the next 60 days. I want to be ready to trade those vaccine stocks so quick and so hard that while everyone's talking about, before the market even has a millisecond to trade, I want to get in on these trades, right? A day early, an hour early. That is critical. I think there's huge money to be made. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to, back when we were trading the market, remember back in March, it was all about having a prepared mind. So we're going to get back into the whole notion of having a prepared mind, understanding the scenarios, modeling the scenarios, looking for which scenarios are playing out, and having a prepared mind for how you're going to trade the second one of those scenarios looks like they're actually coming to reality. So that's coming on Dumb Money. Make sure you subscribe today. That's coming up
next week on Dumb Money. If you haven't subscribed, you have to subscribe. You have to turn on notifications, because otherwise you will never know that we're on, because we do it kind of randomly. We try our best to do Tuesday and Thursday. This week we did Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right? So we were completely opposite of what we typically try to do. But for the newcomers, for Brandon Matthews, thank you. He just found the thing a few days ago, and he's already a huge fan. Thank you for watching.
Awesome, thanks.
Looks like we just got a super chat from Pedro. Thank you. He's
Thank you, Pedro.
I don't know if I can get to that one fast enough, but he has huge money in the stock yesterday, right before earnings, March 15th. Does somebody know something we don't know? He's talking about Baba, Alibaba.
We are not. There's Pedro. We are so overwhelmed with the opportunities in U.S. markets. Baba could be the greatest thing in the world. We're just not looking at it closely right now, because we're just backed up on U.S. trades right now. Nothing
What about-
against some of these big Chinese stocks.
What about Beyond Meat? Any thoughts on
Beyond
that?
Meat.
That's something we did a lot of research and talk about around pre-IPO time, I believe. Or
Yeah, we were Impossible Foods, and I was Impossible Food investor back in the day. I sold that, but Beyond Meat, love it. It's great. It's just not. It's not something I'm looking at right now because it's just the degree to which people are going. The restaurant side of that business, I think, is still in question. Listen, I just not in Beyond Meat, but I have nothing against it either. American Airlines being a short for sure, $1 million millionaire. It's going to be maybe a second wave stock. We'll see. You're reading our mind, man. That is likely to be one of our second wave stocks. Why? Because it's all about balance sheets. Second wave stocks are all about balance sheets. There are some stocks that can survive to 2021 with no business, and there's some stocks that can't, and that's what we're going to talk about on the second wave episode.
Yeah. What about LVS, Las Vegas Sands?
LVS can survive. I mean, it can survive, and that's why we, just like LVS, we own Wynn. Big deal. LVS and Wynn are moved very similarly to each other. But by the way, both LVS and Wynn are both mainly Macau companies, right? Most of the revenue and earnings come from Macau, not from the U.S. and Singapore as well for LVS. Those are companies that we're not going to short on a second wave because they could survive a second wave. There's other companies that just cannot survive a second wave, and those are the ones we'll be shorting. Roku, Truth Austin, 1236. Thoughts on Roku? We're in Roku. I kept my Roku. I didn't double down or anything. I actually sold part of my Roku last week or a week before. Listen, Roku's kind of one of my core holdings for now. I'm not like actively trading it, but yeah, we got it. I like it. I think we'll continue to do well through this period that we're in.
How is Jordan so calm? Does he meditate or medicate? I want to know.
No, neither. You know what the funny thing is? Oh, this is all right. This is so great that someone said that, because on one hand, Jordan is the most chill person ever. Like literally the most chill person. And in terms of his investments, he sets his investments up conservatively so that he never should be losing sleep over an investment.
Yes.
Also, though, Jordan is a high anxiety guy, but you wouldn't know it. But he's got a lot of anxiety in his head, and that's why he's so conservative, because he doesn't want to put himself out on the edge like that, like we do, like I do.
His version of anxiety is way different than ours. You're probably the most extreme as far as just your like being hyperactive about your anxiety and everything you do. But yeah, Jordan's so chill. He's like, yeah, I'm really kind of worried about this, so-and-so company doing, but it's not like, we're about to lose our money.
No. And I'm like, he's upset because a company went down or this. I'm like, how much of your portfolio is in that company? And he tells me how many shares, and it's like 0.1% of his net worth that he has in that company. I'm like, oh, are you kidding? Meanwhile, I got 50% of my entire net worth levered in an options trade that has earnings coming out in 2 hours, and he's talking.
I just can't live like that. I can't live my life like that. So I talked to my wife about this stuff too, and she's like, "I'm so glad you're not you're not doing crazy stuff like that." No, I miss some of the upside too, right? But I miss some of the downside.
Yeah. You have the right allocation, kind of, for you. And that's the thing. You get a little bit of everything on our show. If you want someone who is on the edge, making huge, high conviction bets and taking huge risk in things that I believe in and putting it all on the line, and I'm never going to stop because it's never enough. Not that I'm not into money. It's not about the money, right? It's just about what I'm
winning.
trying to achieve in
it's
this
about,
market. It's about winning.
Yeah.
Winning bigger than anyone has ever won before anywhere in this market. You got that in me. If you want someone who has a very conservative, calm, reasonable outlook, maybe a little too conservative at times, but if that's just where you are with the way you think about your portfolio and your money, you got that in Jordan. And then if you just want the most level-headed, kind of middle of the road, who's willing to take risk when it makes sense, even big risk, huge risk when it makes sense, but at the same time, is just totally calm and rational about everything he does. You got that in Dave. You got the full spectrum here at Dumb Money.
Let's talk a little about Cheesecake Factory and Domino's Pizza.
By the way, not to get off the path of Domino's, but did you see Papa John's? Oh man, they killed it. I mean, who would have thought Papa John's?
They did.
You know, Shaq, man. I was looking at that and I was like, should I invest with Shaq, man? Because maybe can Shaq turn this thing around? But the problem is Shaq does so many commercials. He does so many brand endorsements that I was like, I felt like he was stretched too thin. So I didn't even read the earnings report. I don't know what they did right, but man, that stock. And when I saw what happened to,
I don't know about don't fight the Fed, but don't fight Shaq. That guy's awesome. he is hilarious.
He is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
But
but here's the deal. I mean, I would be so concerned about. I mean, they had that whole thing with their CEO back 2 years ago that just kind of turned me off to the whole company.
Agreed. But you know, like I said, it's not a company that I'm for or against in terms of Domino's or Pizza Hut. I mean, Domino's has been on such an epic run. At some point, the others have to catch up. Pizza Hut and Papa John's have to start doing a better job, both in terms of marketing, user interface in their apps, user experience. They have to do better, and that's why I was just staying away from it. I'm not going to become like a full-time pizza analyst here. You know, like it's just, there's nothing there. I don't have any differentiated informational edge to like invest in Domino's or Papa John's.
No, only that you like their app better. You don't have anything else, and I think that's kind of common knowledge because Domino's has an amazing app and their whole pizza tracker and all of that. Their technology is great, and that they've differentiated their experience that way. They have now their innovation for the pandemic was doorstep delivery, but instead of just putting your pizza box on your front mat, they have something like it's the pizza tripod, or it's some like pizza holder that's just some recyclable cardboard that they put out. They put your pizza on top of it to elevate it from the ground, and then they stand back, and once you've taken your pizza, they will take it away.
Wait, who is this, Dave? I'm sorry, I missed it. Who is that?
It's Domino's. Domino's.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember what they're calling it. It's like this pizza stand that they put on your front porch. I still have not ordered Domino's during this entire time of lockdown. I've been using DoorDash every day. But if I order pizza, it is usually Domino's.
How about Chelsea Corner, Dave? It's great pizza that we're delivering, and it's free delivery.
It is, and the only reason I forget to order from Chelsea Corner is that it's not in the DoorDash app. I would have to go to the Chow Now app to find
just go to Chelsea Corner Dallas.
Well, I know, but it's not top of mind. So my way of thinking about what restaurant I'm going to eat from is going to an app and just browsing and saying, oh, it recommends my favorites. It knows what I've ordered from before. It knows what I ranked before. And so, and I did their little free trial of free delivery, that $10 a month program.
No,
and
it makes sense.
If
you don't know what we're talking about, Chelsea Corner is my restaurant. Dave is a bar, Inwood Tavern here in Dallas. But if you're ordering in Dallas, Texas, order from chelseacornerdallas.com. Free delivery, 4 to 10 at night. Anyway, no, what I was going to say is we have upped that at the Camillo household. We actually bought a professional, like one of those really thin pizza, you know, like what do you call it, tray things? Because when we order pizza, we have this system, of course, as you know. I go out of the house with gloves. I open the boxes, and Amy, my wife, comes out with it, and she will literally, with these ultra thin thing, pull the pizza out without touching anything, put it directly into our oven, heat it for a couple minutes to get rid of any additional virus that's on it, right? And that's our pizza system we got going on in our house.
So it's too bad you're not open for lunch, because I would definitely be ordering right now.
I might get some of that pizza tonight. It's good stuff. What was the other stock besides
Cheesecake Factory?
Cheesecake Factory. I haven't checked it in the last day or two. I think they might have had earnings. Cheesecake Factory is a company that I think I'm shorting. I think you know, I don't like the risk reward. I like the risk reward on the short side, but they're up $1.50 today. I do know that Ruth Chris came out with earnings, and I'm shorting them, not by a lot. They're basically flat on the day, and I'm still shorting Dave & Buster's, which is symbol play, and they're up a tiny bit today. And you know, like I said, these are my shorts. My thesis, right or wrong, My thesis is that America is going to get back to life, kind of, but I think there's certain things that people are going to do and certain things are not going to do. In our restaurant, we opened up at 25% capacity, and we're doing okay, but I don't know that we're going to be able to do a lot more than 25% unless consumer behavior really starts to tick up. And like, I've been hearing that from a lot of the other restaurants in town. And guys, if we hover around this 25 to 50% capacity at restaurants, Cheesecake Factory, Ruth Chris, forget about Dave & Buster's. I don't even think they could open. I mean, who's going to Dave & Buster's? I don't think people realize that we could open up. People are going to get haircuts, right? They're going to get haircuts. What else are they going to do? We're talking about what they're going to do. They're going to get haircuts. They're going to do something else, but they're not like going to go shop for like clothing because there's no events going on. There's no travel. There's no charity events. There's no parties. There's no weddings. There's very few weddings. There's very few things that people are going to where they need to wear clothes. They're not like stopping for lunch after work, right? Because they're at their house. They're saving money. They're eating in. I don't know if I'm fully buying the summer recovery for a lot of these industries.
So let's talk about your restaurant. What is your normal capacity? What, 25%? I know that's the most you're allowed to have. Let's talk about how full you are, how your reservations are doing, because that gives insight at least into one neighborhood at a favorite local spot in town that I think would do well if people are willing to go outside.
So here's the thing. We are at 25% capacity at peak times. But as soon as we get off of peak times, we're nowhere near 25% capacity because the vibe right now is like there's no attorneys, stopping by after work on their way home to like get, have cocktails and, maybe split a couple apps, right? Like that was a big part of our business. Like that's no longer there. It's just
for a neighborhood place where the bar is kind of like front and center and people would just literally show up after work and you kind of always know someone there. That's the kind of vibe that people are avoiding right now. You don't want to run into people. You don't want to see a face-to-face conversation. You want to be isolated. You want to be a table away from the closest, the next closest table.
Yeah, I think even the people that are a little bold right now that are like, I'm going to go out, my whole family, we're going out, we're going to like do this. In their head, they're trying to be responsible. So I think in their head, they're like, well, we'll go to our favorite Mexican place, but we don't need to be going to a steak dinner tonight with our like clients and stuff. Like that's stupid. Nobody needs to do that, right? No one needs to take their kids to Dave & Buster's right now.
Hold on, didn't one of our friends send us a picture of a plane full of people going to Colorado yesterday?
Yes.
So there are people that are out that are absolutely not afraid.
That's different. Yeah, but here's the difference, Jordan. I think people that are going to Colorado, that makes total sense. Like people are like, hey, we're going on our summer. Like we're getting a house in Colorado for a couple months or whatever it is. We're not going to stay. That's
getting the
fine.
house is one thing. Like because I've considered doing a house, but there's no way I would get on an airplane right now.
Well, I know you wouldn't. There's other people that just don't care about that stuff. But like they're going to get. Listen, people love their vacations, right? And especially people that have houses in Colorado and do all that stuff. Like they're going to do it. They're going to roll the dice on the plane stuff. I'm not, but people will. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just think I'm not totally bought in to a lot of these restaurant stocks. I think there could be some mega trades here on the short side. And it's something I'm watching really closely. I don't have big short positions right now. They're pretty small because part of the reason why they were so small is because I assumed correctly to some extent that the market would get all excited about people getting back to life. Remember, we talked about this last week and the week before. There's going to be this moment where everyone's like, we're getting back, we're going back to life. And everyone gets all excited. And then the restaurant stocks all go up and all these retailers start to go up. And like the exuberance, but it's not necessarily rational. And there are winners and there are losers.
Are we getting back to irrational exuberance as a phrase? I love that.
Yeah, it's.
If you remember that was like back in the 90s when who was the Fed chairman then?
Was it like the 98, 99? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
That's probably where I picked it up from. That's funny.
So here's the picture that we have so many messages going back and forth in these group texts. It takes forever to find them. But this is the picture that we were talking about a full plane going to DFW to Denver on American Airlines Thursday, packed flight. Yeah. 30 people, and it took an hour to go through the 30-person security line, but look how full that plane is.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't seem... No,
Wow.
thank you.
No way.
Yeah,
No
I thought they
way.
were skipping seats and things like that. That picture does not lead you to believe that there's any seats being skipped.
One of the discount airlines was talking about how you could pay to have the middle seat unoccupied, and they got in trouble for that, like trying to profit off of the situation. But I think that they should just, by default, have at least one seat behind or in between, and probably like figure out airflow in a plane and stagger people in a different kind of, like, don't have someone right in front of and behind where the cough goes straight over. Do some scientific research on airflow in planes and suck all that air out and filter it and try to do something different, because...
Have you not seen, there's a little video, there's like a little GIF or graphic or something that went around.
No, I
not too
saw
long ago?
that. Was it a GIF or a GIF?
Ooh,
That's
I think
the
it's a
burning
GIF.
question that I really
think
want to know.
it's actually a GIF.
I call it a GIF.
By the way, like Hal Ramby is asking long Regis. I looked at Regis, and I'm not long Regis, and the reason why is, yeah, people are obviously going to get their hair cut. I mean, a lot of people, but not all people. There's a lot of people that are honestly like going to cut their kids' hair at home. They don't want to send their kids in. And for adults, I think people will kind of get their hair cut, but when they get it cut, they might be like, I want to kind of do this half as often now. So can you cut it extra short? And instead of coming in every 4 weeks, I'll come in every 7 or every 8 until this thing is over. So, I think their business, even in a best case scenario, until we get a vaccine, I think their business could be down 30% maybe, 25, 30, 40% in a best case scenario. So no, I'm not long Regis. They have a bunch of salons. Oh, okay. Now,
this is the reason that I'm not leaving the house.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you fart on a plane.
One sneeze, and look at the people who turn purple. Those are the ones who get it.
Yeah.
So if I had to go to
boom,
oh my,
it's all based on science.
So you're saying, Dave, if you had to take an international trip, you would buy up one of those private, like those $50,000 little cubby rooms?
There's no reason that I would have to take an international trip. There's no reason that I need to travel when this is going on. That purple. We should just start calling it the purple killer, because
imagine if that GIF was like on the display screen at the airport, and like right by every flight.
That should be what they put on the TSA screens. They should just have this on a loop. And there's no way anyone's getting on. Short the airlines as soon as this thing is what you have to look at before you get on the plane. Like that now boarding sign just turns into this.
If I were like one of these funds like that short, like short the airlines, and they'll do whatever it takes to kind of promote their position, I would just pay to post that, which is a GIF, is what you're saying, to post that GIF on every person that's searching a flight for American Airlines. Like if I was shorting American, every American Airlines, I would be paying to run that GIF as an ad so that they see it every time.
Well, Chris, here's your restaurant. Which table should I sit in? And this is why I will not be going to your restaurant. Although your takeout, your delivery service is amazing. I would highly recommend it.
But you have to admit, we have more outdoor space than almost any restaurant in town. We we have a backyard. We have one of the biggest backyard. Oh, there you go. Here's a picture of the backyard of my restaurant. And
you've reconfigured it out there so that you have seating that is spread apart, and you have a very large space, and it's all about airflow and time. You don't want to be in a confined area for an extended period of time where people are sneezing, whether they have anything or not. Just in general, that just sounds like, stay inside. I mean, stay in your own house.
Agreed. Someone's asking about Rick's Cabaret. They're public, I guess, still, about gentlemen's clubs. Are you still researching that? Jared Spencer, 1252, I forgot to research Rick's Cabaret. I'm sorry. I will put it on my list to research. I can't even imagine. On one hand, I'd be like, it's got to be the worst. No one's going to go. On the other hand, the people that go, do they even care? The people that work there, the people that visit, is this going to stop them? Probably not, actually. They might be thriving in this. So, Dave, we got to do our little. You want me to do a drive-by a bunch of these places?
I want you to do a drive-by. We were talking about something else you were going to do a drive-by at.
Five Below.
That's a stock that we play all the time because we feel like we have some sort of insight into the sales of some fidget spinner or some trend that you go to Five Below to buy. Five Below seems like a terrible place to go right now because nobody needs that cheap
and everybody touches
imported
stuff
plastic
there.
from.
Like you go and touch, right? And that
Seems like a terrible place, and that was Chris's thesis, is that nobody's going to go to Five Below when there's germs, but we know that people are not the most intelligent species. Well,
so I've driven by a few places, and I can tell you for sure that Target is killing it right now.
Target is killing it, yes, but so I'm going to drive by Five Below today.
I want to know about Five Below for sure.
I'll do a drive by, and listen. Like, you don't need anything at Five Below. There are zero essential goods at Five Below. They sell candy and novelty items. By the way, I love Five Below.
Hold on.
It's
you
like,
know what you need?
It's like my favorite store.
Squeezable things? What are those called?
Squishies. For those of you who don't know, we almost started our own squishy line a couple of years ago too. But it was a cat squishy line. We were going.
I just remember the
Actually,
hamburger.
I was out the second that it turned cat and away from the hot dog.
You wanted a hot dog with cat ears.
No, I wanted the hot dog that was like the dachshund, a hot dachshund.
Oh my god! My old employees were looking at this because they were involved helping me out on this. If we were going to merge,
reached out to manufacturers in China to see if we could get these squishies produced in an exclusive line.
Daria and Laura, if you're watching right now, you got to comment. But we were going to merge two mega trends. It was the squishy trend that was trending, and the cat trend is always trending. So we were like, what if we could bring together the squishy trend and the cat trend and make the world's best line of cat squishies?
It just doesn't matter because you were going to miss out on the hot dachshund trend.
Yeah, we hired designers to design them.
Yeah, we actually have some mock-ups of what these things were going to look like. Chris, you froze it again, but we have like 3D renderings of what the squishies were going to look like. My favorite was the hybrid between Chris's cat idea and Jordan's hot dog idea, where they put whiskers and ears on a hot dog, and it was a squishy. Worst. Why? How have we ever made any money with these kind of? It's the fact that we allow ourselves to brainstorm this kind of stuff.
There was a day in our office where Chris spent like an hour and a half just smelling and squeezing squishies.
I had a crate of them. I ordered them from all of them. I had so many squishies from so many squishy manufacturers.
Squishy videos. It was out of control.
Dude, hey, I bet Elon Musk does the same exact thing. Guaranteed.
I'm sure he does.
You know he does. He's working on putting computer chips in people's brains right now. It's kind of the same thing.
I'm out on computer chip brain company.
Oh, I love it. I totally want in. We need to try to source some shares of that private company directly from Elon if we have to. If you're watching, by the way, Elon, if you saw your thumbnail, Elon, and you clicked this and you stayed with us for the 2 hours we've been on the air, please comment. That would be amazing.
Jared Spencer, who's ripping on, he said, 1258, I can't wait till Starlink comes out so Chris can get some better internet for his pandemic punk. Let me explain what's happening right now while I'm going out. So when I went out earlier, which had probably had nothing to do with my internet, it was probably the my iPad, Dave, I switched my controller away from the controller that had a hardwired internet, and now I'm on Wi-Fi, so that's the problem.
That's the problem. Well,
so I'll fix that.
That's one problem. I mean, everything in your studio seems to be just it's a big stack of equipment on bringing it back to cats. It's a cat tree, which is like a cat climbing thing that has a perfectly level surface for the laptop to sit on. If you pull your other camera further away, we can bring that one in too. Here, let me.
That's what it's on. My studio is a cat tree.
It's a cat tree
cats
with a
today.
microphone and it's
Yeah.
and now he's actually broadcasting from an iPad, which is genius. It's just okay. I got the right ones, but I think we should just have multiple Chris's.
Yeah, I like double Chris.
One is super orange and kind of over, and then one is blurry and choppy.
Hey, 2 times the content, 2 times the video. That's.
But Jared, thank you for the comment. Maybe just maybe we'll get some better performance out of Chris's technology here.
Maybe I'll just mail you my MacBook Pro, and you can. Yeah,
I mean, it would be
serving me well.
I have an extra.
William
Hey,
Holmes,
Chris,
books
actually,
are coming. I promise. I know you're. I deserve to be guilt tripped on this. I'm going to start
I have
sending
my
it next week.
I have my old MacBook Pro if you need it.
No. I'm going to make this work. I know what I did wrong today, so I'm going to make it work. Next time, Monday, we'll be all good. All right, guys. Cool. We're at 2 hours. We got to end this at some point.
All right, I'm just going to throw these comments up on the screen so that you can read as we do our big sign off. And I look for the button I'm supposed to push to take us off
I'm
the
getting
air.
delirious now. I haven't eaten yet today.
No, and that's the thing. We start these at 11 o'clock our time, and we end it now at 1 o'clock. And my very next thing is to open up the DoorDash app and try to figure out what I'm going to eat. Do you have any ideas?
I don't know, but let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to drink a beer.
That's a great idea.
Dave, there is a concert on my street tomorrow night, by the way. You're invited
What?
to? You like
An outdoor concert, I hope?
Yeah, it's a guy with a guitar and a pickup truck, and he's going to be playing on my street. Everyone has to social distance, but as long as you agree to social distancing, we will try to
fantastic.
We'll carve you out a
I'll be
spot
there.
in my neighbor's driveway.
Hold on, somebody rent this guy? Did they? Are they paying him to come do this?
It's a friend of a friend, and he's just going around and doing street concerts,
like a street
for
party.
people.
Man, I
What
love
time
that.
is it? Tomorrow at sundown? What time
tomorrow
is it?
evening. Tomorrow evening. I'll let you know.
Okay, send me some info on that. I definitely want to go
That's
to that.
a great idea.
Yeah. For those of y'all who don't know, Dave lives literally 1 block from me. Random.
Yeah, we can walk. We walk to each other's house. When we did the social distancing party at your house, we walked there, and I brought a tape measure, and we had our chairs 12 feet apart because we wanted to double the CDC recommendation. And then our other friend Len, who also lives a block the other direction, I'm kind of in the middle. Jordan used to live right here. I mean,
between us, he used to live between me and Dave.
Like the four of us were just like within a 3-house radius. If you were to draw a circle, I think I was in the center. But
I had to break it up because when we would send documents back in for startups, they'd be like, "Are you guys like in a weird comedy? Like, what's going on?"
I mean, it would be so much easier. Wouldn't it be so much easier if we just shared one big house?
For 20-some years, we've known each other, and then we just decide to buy houses all within half a block of each other. It's so freaking weird.
Leon says that when we're talking about the squishy cats, Laura is on, so she is watching, and Leon was also at that company. They know all about the ideas that come when we sit in our chairs. We never had desks. This is another thing we should talk about. We never had desks at the offices that for ourselves. For people who actually worked, they had places to actually sit and work. We set up like a living room that had 4 chairs that all faced in towards each other, and we would sit and just talk for hours about the most crazy nonsense. It was, about whether it's an investment or an idea or a company we wanted to start or just what we're going to have for lunch that day. It kind of was exactly what you're watching right now, but just done without an audience, without a live studio audience.
That's pretty much how the show was born. We just added cameras. That's all we did is add cameras.
Oh, Daria's on, not Laura. So, hey.
Daria. What's up, Daria?
Hey, Daria.
So basically, you're getting to watch what you could overhear if you have ever worked at one of our companies. And it was not just the company, it was not just ticker tags with you two. It was the company before that, eCarList. We had the same 4-chair configuration and just rotating random people sitting in it and talking about ideas. And that is we don't need desks. We just need a place to hang out.
Dave, that was different companies, identical configuration, and then after we sold ticker tags and we ended up going to work we go to work at a WeWork when we just wanted a place to go, We assembled
rented
the
WeWork
same
space, but we didn't. We said we do not want a private office. We just want to hang out in the common space. And every day we would show up and just claim this configuration that was very similar to what we were used to, and we would just sit there and chat about life. And that is really where Dumb Money came from, is because we were doing that every single day, me, Chris, and Jordan, and it was just too interesting not to start filming. And that's how this channel came to be.
I'm gonna let out a little tiny bit of I've lost my mind. A niche gurung at 104. This is more fun than watching a movie. There will someday be a Dumb Money movie. It's coming. It's coming. I can't talk about it more than that. I can't talk about any more of that. But just know something.
This is actually a real thing.
It's a real thing. Something is very early on in the works. It is much bigger than us, though. It's not just about us, but it's I think going to be maybe the biggest thing
of another movie.
Yes. So just a little bit of insight into the future coming 2022. Maybe to a theater near you. Anyway, okay, guys.
Theaters are done. Theaters will be done by 2022. It'll be beamed straight to your house. You'll be able to watch it on your
Apple TV.
Straight to your drive-through. All right, yes. I have to have lunch.
Me too.
I have to go on my bike ride. I have to go on my bike ride to check out Five Below to see if there's anyone in the parking lot. And maybe go by Rick's Cabaret to see if there's no one in that parking lot.
What a weird
viewers. It's research.
You're going to drive your bike all the way to Rick's Cabaret?
I don't know. I think I have close ones in Houston.
Just don't take any singles.
Anyway.
Make it rain.
Later, but talk about our podcast and all that stuff, Dave.
You need to watch
later, buddy.
If you do podcasts, go to wherever you look for podcasts and look for Dumb Money Live. We're there. You'll get to hear a replay of all of our shenanigans here if you're too busy to watch the whole thing. We also have multiple YouTube channels. Dumb Money is our original channel. Dumb Money Live is what you're watching now. I have a channel called Hey There Dave here, and I'm not making any videos on it, but you really should subscribe to it because it is awesome if I ever have time to make another video. What else do we, I always plug like 3 things, I think. Subscribe here, ring the bell, because if you don't ring the bell, you'll never know that we're on the air because, we kind of do them at random times. Smash the like button, do all the things that YouTube likes you to do. And that's it. We're Dumb Money. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you. We're doing it Monday, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or is it Tuesday?
Good. Next week is going to be awesome.
I know I always
say that.
Oh, wait, what are we talking about on Monday?
Is it Monday or Tuesday?
I guess Tuesday and Thursday. You're right. Wait, Monday and we did Monday or
we usually do Tuesday and Thursday. Today we did Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Do you want to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday now that we're stir crazy in our houses?
It's too much, but I'm totally open to doing like a Monday, Thursday. I think Monday we should do it, man. Because I want to.
You're too excited. You need to get this stuff out. You're gonna have all weekend. You have too much to say.
I do. I have too much to say. Let's just do the vaccine trades on Monday.
Okay.
Because man,
the trades that we will make if there is any substantial news on a vaccine, we will tell you what trades we're going to make Monday here on Dumb Money Live. We'll see you next time.